I got out of my car and I was walking to my apartment, and it suddenly occurred to me that I had died and that I was in some kind of weird limbo because I had said no.
A Kodega is a guide and a storyteller, escorting you through the night, lighting the way, warding off thieves, ghosts, demons, and other oddities. Along the journey, his companions would often share with him the most curious of stories that he'd record in his codex. Perhaps you just might find yourself traveling with a Kodega and sharing one of yours. All right, good evening and welcome to Codega's Codex of Curiosities. And today I'm joined with Mellisa Blanchard. Mellisa, welcome to the Codex of Curiosities.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. And so, of course, the topic is the glitches in the Matrix. And I
Yes.
stumbled upon your post in a Reddit, in a Reddit subreddit in Glitch in
Mhm.
the Matrix, and very fascinating. And I'd like for you to tell us about your experience.
Sure. I was 25. I lived in LA at the time. It was a Saturday night. It was about 8:30, and I was taking Sunset Boulevard home from work. And for those who aren't familiar with the area, there is a section of Sunset Boulevard that is extremely curvy, and it's two lanes and two lanes. There's no shoulder, no middle lane, nothing like that. And yeah, it's very tight. So I'm driving home. It's a nice night. Listening to the radio. I have the window down. And all of a sudden, about 50 feet in front of me, I see the passenger door of a car. And what had happened, I'm assuming, is a car had spun out of control and was now perpendicular in my lane. But being only 50 feet in front of me, I knew I didn't have time to stop. I absolutely knew it. And I looked to my right, and there was a car right there in the right hand lane. But instinctively, I just swerved all the way to the right anyway. Then I swerved all the way to the left to avoid the second car I was about to hit. And while this was happening, time completely slowed down. It I don't even know how to explain it. It was like every millisecond I could feel, and it was kind of lasting an eternity. I heard somebody describe it one time as unfolding like a frame by frame, and that's exactly what it felt like. And in my memory, that's how I remember it too. So swerving to the right, swerving all the way back to the left. And while that's happening, suddenly this memory of my mom and I at Disney World when I was 3 years old popped in my head. And I don't have a lot of memories from that trip. I was very young, and this is not one that I had in my consciousness. This is a memory I had never experienced before. So in that moment, I realized I was going to die. And I was completely positive I was going to die. I've never been so sure of anything in my life in that moment that I was going to die, that my life was flashing before my eyes, and this was it. And I immediately got very angry and started screaming. I don't know if I actually yelled anything or if it was just in my brain. And I said, "No, this is not fair. I'm not done yet." And I know that sounds scripted, but that's literally what I said. um, and then suddenly, all this craziness is going on, and I slam on my brakes, and then I was perpendicular in the opposing lane of traffic, exactly like the first car had been with me. And so I came to a stop and gathered myself for a second, and then I looked around, and there was not one car on Sunset Boulevard at 8:30 on a Saturday night. There was no one. So put my car in reverse. Thank God I was only like 5 minutes from my house because I was very shaken, obviously. I didn't see anyone the entire way home, not one car. And this isn't a busy area. This is Brentwood in LA. This is a busy area. And the street I lived on, I had to park on the street. I was pretty broke at the time. I didn't have my own parking space. And this is a street with not enough parking, so there's always someone. You're always fighting with someone to get a parking space. There was no one. It was completely deserted. And no one was walking their dog, no one was getting their mail, no one was coming home from dinner, nothing. It was like there was no other human around. And I got out of my car and I was walking to my apartment, and it suddenly occurred to me that I had died, and that I was in some kind of weird limbo because I had said no. Uh, and so I went upstairs, and sadly, my roommate was not home. I really wanted her to be home. She was not home. And I went into my bedroom and couldn't explain what happened in my brain. I didn't understand what had just happened at all. I called one of my best friends and I said, I need to ask you a few questions. I'll explain everything when I'm done, but please just answer these questions for me. I asked her my name, I asked her the date, I asked her the city we lived in, and she was really freaked out. She's like, what the hell is going on? What is wrong with you?" And I said, I think I might be dead. I don't know if I'm even really on the phone with you." And she tried to assure me that I was, and that I was not dead. And honestly, I don't remember the rest of that evening, but I went to bed. My roommate did not come home that night, and woke up the next morning, and suddenly everything was back to normal. The people were back. My roommate was home. Um, yeah, that's what happened.
Wow, that is a fascinating story. Now, I have a couple questions
Of
about
course.
this incident. Actually, when you said you had stopped the car and there was no other cars on the boulevard, was that car that you swerved out of the way for? Was that one not there either?
Everything was gone. There was no traffic, there was no one driving by. The 2 cars I had just avoided, I couldn't find. I looked all around me, did a full 360, just trying to get my bearings, then realizing I was in an opposing lane of traffic and needed to get the hell out of there. Though, actually, it turned out I didn't, because there was no one coming. I could have sat there all night. Um, no, I didn't see anything.
Wow.
No
Okay.
sign of no sign of life except for trees.
That is remarkable. Now, what do you think happened to you?
After many years of thinking about it, and this moment of my life does still haunt me to a point, because it is somewhat unexplained. I'll never have an exact answer until I move on from this plane of existence and then have all the answers in afterlife and whatnot. But
Exactly.
as Melissa Blanchard, I'll never have that question answered for me 100%. But since there's been many years of studying, looking into quantum physics, lots of meditation, and what I genuinely think happened is that I jumped a timeline. I jumped into a parallel existence where another Melissa Blanchard was living a life exactly like mine. Um, I never discerned any differences in my reality or anything like that. So I think I just slipped into an alternate plane, and that Melissa Blanchard that was driving the car actually did die. Her parents
So
did get the phone call. Her friends did have to receive that news. Her little brother never got to know her. That Melissa Blanchard died, and I slipped into the place of another one. I know that that sounds absolutely crazy to some people, but that's the only explanation I can come up with. At the time, I thought a higher power, my dead grandmother, angels, spirit guides, somebody saved me, just plucked me out and spared me. But now I don't think that's the case.
you feel that possibly your consciousness jumped to another timeline, to another dimension, to another multiverse, and you just kind of took over the body of Melissa Blanchard, Earth 363 or something like
Yeah,
that.
poor thing. I don't know what happened to her, but yeah, I think I just took her place basically. I mean, I do believe now that there are parallel planes of existence where every possibility of your life is being lived out. And so yes, I think I just slipped into, in that moment of hysteria, that heightened sense of awareness, um I slid into another
Fascinating.
parallel existence.
Now I have one last question actually now.
Sure.
Something I was just thinking about. Do you believe possibly, you know how I'm sure you've heard about Mandela effects.
Yes.
Do you feel that this could be something along that line where you jump timelines into another timeline where in your previous timeline you experienced
for one thing, maybe the Monopoly man with a monocle, or the Bernstein or Bernstein bears, and now you've gone to this timeline. So you have memories of a different existence that you have brought into this existence, this dimension. Do you feel that that could be a possibility as well?
I mean, absolutely. I feel like anything could be a possibility, but I never had anyone tell me a memory was wrong. Like, I never had the experience of saying, "Oh, remember this?" And the person's like, No, I never had that. I never got any proof. Like I said, I wasn't aware of this concept at 25, but
Yeah.
I don't remember noticing anything weird afterwards, that anything was different, that any people were different. I didn't.
Okay, and one last question, actually, I just
Sure.
just popped in my head. This memory you had of Disneyland, and
Hmm.
you said you
Disney
don't really
World.
remember that before,
Yeah.
or Disney World. Could that have been a memory that Melissa Blanchard Earth 363 had, and that was implanted into your mind as like this is one of the only few things that were different, and now you have that extra file chip, or that extra
Right, kinda
memory
like
chip
an
that's like,
introduction to Melissa 360. Um, it's interesting. Someone brought that up to me, someone on Reddit, a Redditor commented on that and said, "Is it possible that that was a memory of the new person that you slipped into?" And that is a possibility I had never thought of until that person wrote that. But yes, it's possible, sure.
wow. Well, Melissa, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time and sharing this incredible story. It was really incredible. Like
Oh,
there are some
thanks.
out there that are. I've had some mundane experiences, we'll say, but this was just phenomenal. So thank you so much for being part of Codega's Codex of Curiosity.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
I look forward to our next adventure together as we navigate the mysteries that lie ahead. Until our paths cross again, keep your curiosity wandering and ensure the light remains lit.